It's right here, come on.
I think it's fair.
Oh, it wasn't too bad.
N equals. Where's the worksheet?
Okay, now we're looking
I don't care what you do.
I didn't ask you a question. Is that called a board?
Here you go, right here. Well, I meant the burger one.
Alright, we got 6 problems here. They all start off with an n equals and then an a equals. So you got n equals 3, a equals negative 216, n equals 4, a equals 81, n equals 4, a equals 16, n equals 2, a equals negative 49, n equals 3, a equals negative 125. The last one is n equals 5 and a equals 243. Okay, talking about roots and rational exponents today. This set of 6 here is just roots. The n, when it says over there on what we're doing today, the nth root, that means it could be a 2 and be a square root, be a 3 and be a cube root, be a 4 and be a fourth root, we got a 5 up there, that's just a fifth root. And then the a is what you're taking the root of. Okay, so how you'll write these, if you see it given to you this way on an assignment or a test, this would be the cube root of negative 216. So that's what you're looking at on all of those. Whatever the n is your root. Whatever the a is what you're taking that root of. Okay, so we got to talk about positive and negatives with odds and evens. We know if we have a negative underneath the square root, it's not real. It's imaginary. We get an I. And so today we're going to get to write just not real. We won't have to mess with the I like we did before. But what about a negative when it's an odd root? Can you have a negative when you're taking a cube root or a fifth root? Jody's right, you can, because a negative times a negative times a negative is a negative. So on this, all we got to do is figure out what times itself 3 times equals 216. Say what, Willis?
Oh my God.
No, 72 times 72 times 72 would be huge.
Oh, so what will equal 216 3 times?
Yep, times itself 3 times.
Divide that.
No, not
6.
Okay, so Stephen thinks that 6 times 6 times 6 is negative 216.
You gotta have 2 negatives in there, don't you?
So what would our 6 need to be?
Negative.
So negative 6 times negative 6 times negative 6.
You're wrong.
Good on that, Stephen? Yep. So my answer here would be negative 6. That's all you would do on that. Okay. The way to get a cube root on your calculator, you hit math, scroll it down to number 4, and there's the cube root. Now for this next one here, to do a fourth root, you got to push a couple more buttons. Okay, the way this one reads here, the second one, we want to know what is the fourth root of 81. So what times itself 4 times equals 81. Okay, to type that in your calculator, that's what everybody always wants to know. On your normal home screen where you add, subtract, multiply, and divide, when the root is bigger than 3, you got to go ahead and type the root. Then you're going to hit math. What you got, Dalton? You already got the answer?
Yes.
And you're going to scroll it down. I can't remember what number it is, but it's 5. The one that has an X. 5, Austin said.
Yeah.
And then type the 81 in there. What is it?
3.
Now, could I have got a real answer if that had been a negative 81?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Remember when it said even roots,
Oh, you
you
can't.
can't have a negative unless that'll turn it to an I. We're not doing I's today. Did you get it on your calculator? You looked at it.
Yeah, I know. I figured it out.
In the door. It's funny. Were you there? Oh, that's why.
No, I just noticed he was taking a long time.
Yeah, no, you can do the thing for answer.
Okay, so those last 4, I want you to see if you can get the answer to those other 4 up there.
That's easy.
Yes, it is. Get them done.
Wait.
Yes, sir.
Drug
Well, you
test one.
can't get the answer, you just put it on.
Today we're just doing not real.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
You've got one of those answers that we know would have an I in it.
What do you
But for today, you can just write not real. Okay, so if you see one that you think should have an I, just write not real.
I know how to do this.
Wait, I thought any of them were not real.
If it's an odd root,
16
you can do it.
Wait, so if we
If
put
it's
it
an
in,
even
The second one is not real.
both of those are odd.
Okay, so this is negative.
Oh, I'm writing that
Oh,
word down.
okay.
What, Stephen?
Oh, it's 2.
No,
but-
you.
16 and 4 1.
What would it be for? Absolutely not.
It's so easy though. Wait, what is it? Not real?
No, it's not real.
Right, not real.
Number 4 is.
Molly, don't make things complicated.
What's
They
the
are, that's why I had to ask. Yeah, I know.
How many you got in count?
Where's my wood?
Why are you lying, boy? What the? Is it, this one's not. This
I'll
one's
mess it
not.
up somehow. I know I will.
Bro, how do you do
Yeah, yeah, it's 2. I mean, this one.
Oh my gosh, why not? I just took all the ones I
Can't do this one.
tried.
Right.
See, that's what's going to.
I think that's.
No, because it's a negative 49 and you got a positive square.
No.
So, okay, I can hear. Negative 49, tell me.
This is easier than not.
Did you say not real?
Type in math.
Yeah, not real. That's that.
Well, which one are we trying to do? Depends. Computer, you use it, math.
Right there.
Go down to number 4.
What?
Pick that.
Oh, look, math. Roll down
I know.
to 3.
Bingo. What's the next one?
Okay.
You don't know how to do
Wait,
that?
for number 1, 2, 3, 4.
I know.
To the negative 49.
He's a
What do
moron.
we do?
Boy, this is one of those over there bitching about how you didn't know how to do it.
I know.
We're 49, right?
I'll spit it in front of this. Forgot necessary.
I don't know. I just knew the number.
You get the blue over here.
So what comes in that?
I've never got either of those.
Hey, Landon, what'd you get on this one? 2. Hey, pay attention. Shh. Landon got 2 on that one. So what that means to work backwards here, he's correct. Good job. That means that 2 to the 4th would equal 16.
Yep.
Right? That's what you're actually, if you go backwards. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 times 2 is 16. Correct, Mundo. What'd you get on this one, Connor?
Not real.
Very good. We remember from a couple of units ago that when we have a negative underneath a square root, that's I. So we could be real smart and say plus or minus 7i, but for today I told you we're just doing not real. Alright, what about this one, Austin? What'd you get here?
Negative 5.
Negative 5 is good. Good job. You can have a negative when your root is odd. Very good, Austin. So negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5 is negative 125. Alright, what do you get on that one, Molly? 3. You think that works? 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81, times 3 is 243. Good job.
3 is
Whew. What would that be? 729?
729.
Easy. I thought you were about to fall.
That went.
Alright.
You about went off. I fell one day real hard.
Oh,
Oh yeah, we weren't there for that day.
Now the sub was here and I felt real good.
It was pretty funny. It was really funny.
Such fun. You couldn't hear.
Alright, what we're going to look at now. We did nth roots over there on what stuff we got. Next thing says rational exponents. Rational means fraction. So that means we can write our exponents as a fraction. Anytime our exponent is in a fraction, that's the same as the numerator is the power and the denominator is the root. You're going to hear me a gazillion and a half times say power over root, power over root, power over root, until you start having nightmares about power over root, power over root, power over root. Okay, so if I had a problem that said I need to evaluate 16 to the 3/2 power. Okay? 16 to the 3/2 power. We know this is power over root. So I need the square root of 16 to the 3rd. Is another way of saying that, right? Okay?
Yeah.
Power over root. So you can put a 2 out here, but remember if there's not one written, that means square root, right? Is everybody okay on that? So which one of these do I need to do first? The square root or the power?
The power.
Doesn't matter. And you can do the power first, but here's my dilemma with the power first. With my brain, I don't know what 16 times 16 times 16 is. I wish I did. I'd be really smart if I did, but I don't. But I do know what the square root of 16 is.
It's 4,096.
Well, aren't y'all something? Don't you know the square root of 16?
You didn't know coffee
It's 4.
Okay, so if I do the square root, if I do what I know first, I get a smaller number there. The square root of 16 is 4. Now I just got to figure out what 4 to the 3rd is. 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. So our final answer would be 64.
Wait, so this is even easier.
Power over root. Power over root. Square root of 16. I did the square root first. Power over root. And it doesn't matter. Hey, shh, y'all listen. It doesn't matter. Like I told Dalton, it doesn't matter if you do the power over the root first. I just always try to do whichever one I know in my head first. Okay? Right. Right. Now, but talking about the calculators, you could type that original problem in. Your calculator can do that. Okay? You would hit 16, your power button,
and then fraction.
and then I think that to get the fraction, it's alpha
I think it's
and y equals. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then type the fraction in.
2 over 2.
3 over 2. Okay, we are everybody practice. Landon, did you practice that on your calculator? Can you type this in? I just showed you how. Hit 16, then the power button,
Oh.
and then to get a fraction, you hit alpha, y equals, and then fill your fraction in. 3 over 2.
That will
Oh,
give you
so
the
we
answer.
got cheese.
Did you get it?
Yes, I did. You look so like, I don't know if I got it or not. That was your face.
Carolyn, I wasn't ignoring you earlier. Did you get figured out what you had?
60.
Yeah, I couldn't.
69.
He is a smoker. He smokes cigarettes.
Not good for you.
Yeah, those are meant for car. Yeah, they're
They
not.
could be.
Cigarillos are not even good to smoke. Just smoke.
How do you know?
Alright, do those two real quick. Shh. 9 to the 1/5. That's 9 to the 1/5. 9 to the 1/5. And 12 to the 3/8. 12 to the 3/8. Get those two done real quick, then we're going to look at something else.
It's 2.
9 and it's 1 5.
Yes, 9 to the 1/5.
What the?
You did it wrong.
How did I do it wrong?
I don't know, but you did it wrong.
I got a decimal. I
I
did
got
get
2.
1.55184.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're right at decimal too. Get out of
I
here
got
with your
2.
grubs.
Do we round it to the 10?
And then the other one's gonna be. Yeah, the other one's
Think about should it be.
Have you rounded it?
Power over roots. What is 9? Has it got something times itself 5
The other
times?
one's 3.
So maybe it should be this one. I mean, think about common sense stuff like that.
I got 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah.
I think yours is rounded to like the whole number. He's probably got it times in.
No, yours, I might be able to fix yours 7.
Do we go to the 10th? Or
Yeah, I was gonna say, cut it,
No
not go.
hundredths. Go if you need to round to the hundredths. Yeah, yours is rounded to the hundredths. Alright, what are we getting now?
Oh, crap.
2.454.
It's gonna be
1.54.
I can't write without it. I don't know why.
2.54.
You laughing about it?
Yeah, I am.
Heck yeah, you. Good job, girl.
I did
Huddle.
What's the second one?
Why huddle is the
2.54.
best?
That's
Yeah, approximate is 2 cos
I got 1.55.
What?
What? I mean, like 4. 1.5. You gotta get taxes. Yeah, it's a 3. We're gonna go get it.
All right, number one there. What you get on it, Trevor?
Me, 1.55.
Nope, wrong.
All right. Then the question was, you were doubting whether or not we could have a fraction or a decimal on this, and so I talked to Dalton about it and pointed him back to what the 1/5 means. This is 9 to the first power over root. I'm taking the 5th root of that. Bless you. Is there something times itself 5 times that equals 9?
No.
I mean, 1 to the 5th is 1. So if you go up from there, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. You way past 9, right? So nothing, no whole number times itself 5 times can equal 9. So that ought to reassure you about getting the decimal on that. Okay.
We're grabbing my boat again.
What'd you get on number 2 there, Chrislyn? 2 point, let me put it approximately 2.54. Y'all remember that the squiggled equal sign, the one that's wavy, means approximately. So when we round, we need to use the wavy equal sign, something like that. All right, so this would be, y'all be quiet. This would be 12 to the 3rd, and I'm taking the 8th root of that. Okay, so pretty big numbers there. If you do 12 times 12 is 144 times another 12. It's pretty big stuff on that, but it does end up being approximately 2.54. Okay? All right on that. Pretty easy stuff today so far. Let's look at when we've got a negative power. 32 to the negative 3/5.
Oh, you brought negatives into it.
All right, directions on this are the same. We're going to just evaluate. When we did powers, what was the rule when we had a negative power?
Got a
Remember? Yeah, you're on the right road, Trevor.
1.25.
Goes on the bottom and becomes positive. Anytime you have a negative exponent, you take your stuff and you put it on the bottom of a fraction and it becomes positive. So this would be the same as
5/3.
1 over 32 to the positive 3/5. Okay? Shh. Negative power, we put the number on bottom and make it positive. Y'all are missing this. Now, power over root, this is fixing to be something we can simplify. Power, root, we know what the 5th root of 32 is. I've said it once already today. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So the 5th root of 32 is 2, right? Then what's 2 cubed? 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So this is the same as 1/8.
That's the answer right
Now,
there.
Unplug the whole thing.
Now,
How'd you figure
why?
that out?
Why was that one rational and the other ones were not?
Is that a negative?
Nope.
Because
It was part.
It had a perfect root for whatever it was talking about. So if it has, this was the 5th root and it had a perfect 5th root like Trevor said, we'll have to put our answer as a fraction. If it doesn't is when we get to round. But can your calculator put your answer as a fraction for you? Yeah. So it's not the big deal.
So you really plug it in either way.
He likes it. We got smoked. You like chicken salad cooked right?
Sometimes.
It's just got to be in the mood for it.
Alright, this one says find the 4th root. Let me rewrite that a second. Find the 4th root of 7 to the 3rd. Okay, without me giving you a whole lot to go with there, I want you to see if you can figure that out. Find the fourth root of 7 to the third. If you need to round it to the nearest hundredth. Fourth root of 7 to the third. If you need to round it to the nearest hundredth. Connor and Trevor, you gonna do it?
I'm just gonna type this in the count. Print.
I don't think it's gonna work like this.
Maybe it is.
Holy, I got like a water number. Well, buddy, you better fix it.
That gum boy. Did you get 1185.296587?
I didn't get an answer. It said quit.
Is that right? That's right.
I don't know.
Okay, I got 4.2.
Yeah, you are wrong.
What'd you get? I got error. You got error. You did something. Why did I get error?
You can't do that, Trevor.
So,
How'd you do that?
You give me?
Is it 4.303?
Do it.
oh, I have some. I just don't feel like doing it.
Am I right?
What do we want?
We go around 4.30. You'll get 4.30.
Dude, Connor.
You didn't do it right, Trevor.
Yeah.
Oh, you actually took the.
I got 7, buddy.
You got
I
7.
don't think.
It's 4, not 3. Dang it.
You got 7.
Is it 4.30?
Yeah.
Okay, what Connor had on that was correct. Here is how, yeah, be quiet. Here's how I would do it if I were working at my calculator. Remember, we've got power over root. It's the easiest thing to do. This is the same as 7 power over root to the 3/4 power. Now it's just like the problems that you did before. So there's less chances to push a button wrong there. Okay,
I figured out a trick
did you?
for, like, you know how it only goes up to 3 on if you hit math and you scroll down? Instead of having to click the number in, if you do it just the 3 and then go put your cursor on the 3 and put whatever number you want up there.
Huh?
I'm lost. Like when you go here and you go to the, if you forget, you go there, you can just go here and you put any number, 4, for the 5, for the 6, for the 7.
Or just put 7 and put the 5.
But get on my
Alright, now we've got 4x to the 5th equals 128.
Oh, yeah.
This time the directions say to solve. Okay? So we're going to start solving this just like we would if we were in middle school. We're trying to get the x all by itself and it's being multiplied by 4. So we're going to divide by 4.
128 divided by 4. That gets you 39.5. No, wrong with that.
What?
I already
That
got
gets you 30.
32.
32.
32.
Alright, so we divided by 4. Hey, stop. Divided by 4 and we got 32. Now that's what x to the 5th is equal to. So I need to undo a 5th power. How do you undo a 5th power? Okay, say square root. It's a 5th power, so you would 5th root. Good, Chloe. So x is going to equal the 5th root of 32. Shh. That's a pretty common one. This is the 3rd time today we've already used that. The 5th root of 32 is 2.
You're already.
And I know the 5th root of 32. I just used it so many times.
She's smart.
Think about it. If you multiply something by itself 5 times and it's 32, it's got to be a small number. So just 1 to the 5th. 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. So then 2 to the 5th. 2 is 4. 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. Times 2 is 30.
Hey, Trevor, can I get a drink?
Ooh.
Give me a drink, Trevor.
No, we your chicken tail and meat.
That's a common
I'm
one.
still trying to get 5, like the 5.
How'd you do that?
So, which one? 2 is your answer? Or
Because look, I did
Finish
that.
it off.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's really-
Right. So you get 2.
why?
Well, if you want me to.
Alright, we got x minus 3 to the 4th is equal to 21.
Should we do the
Okay, Carolyn's right. On the last one, we saved the root for last. But on this one, we got to do the root first because that whole binomial is in a parentheses with that power, right? So we need to undo that fourth power. Shh. We need to undo that fourth power now. Now I know 21 is not a perfect fourth. I mean, it's an odd number. I know 2 to the fourth is 16. So 3 to the fourth, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So it's not a perfect fourth. So when I undo the fourth power with the perfect fourth, I can just go ahead and leave it right now as the fourth root of 21. We'll get a decimal here in a second, but I want to try to show you how to keep it more accurate on your calculator, not have to round as often. So I save it for the end. Okay, now, when we do a fourth root, there's one thing that you should remember from a couple of units ago that I didn't just write. What kind of answers do you have when you do a square root? What's the square root of 16?
Perfect score.
4 is half. 4 is one of them. What's the other answer to the square root of 16? 2. Nope. Negative 4. Anytime we have an even root, we can be plus or minus. So this can be a positive or a negative there. Even root. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Even root. You got to put plus or minus. Okay. Now we need to get that x all by itself, and it's being got a 3 being subtracted from it. So how do we undo that? Add it. So we're going to have x equals 3 plus or minus the fourth root of 21. Okay, do you see how that's going to give us 2 different answers to this problem now?
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to do 3 plus the fourth root of 21, and then we're going to have to do 3 minus the fourth root of 21. Now, every time you round in a problem, you become less and less accurate. Okay, for us in an Algebra 2 class, that's not the end of the world, but if we're working something big at NASA and we round all the time, we're going to screw up and bomb the wrong planet or something, so we don't want to do that. So I've saved my rounding for last, so I only have to round one time, so it keeps it a little bit more accurate. So now to get my 2 answers, I'm going to hit 3 plus, do the fourth root of 21, and I did that all in one line, so I only have to round it once to the nearest hundredth. Connor, what did you get? 5.14 for the first one. Okay, then I'm going to do 3 minus the fourth root of 21. And Connor said 0.86. I need to put my approximately. I forgot that. There you go. So there would be your 2 answers. Good, good. Y'all need to be practicing that. You're not going to be able to just remember what buttons to push all of a sudden on an assignment or a test. You need to be practicing it as we go.
Hey, don't be doing that goofy stuff.
Leave that up there.
35.
36.
I like this. This is like something I enjoy.
No, I don't like it. This is something I do not like, because I don't like square roots.
No, I've only been there for like 20 minutes.
Gabe loves square roots.
I like fractions. No.
I was about to say fractions. I like adding simple.
Yeah, I like that. Can we go back to
I like
that?
real there.
Hey, you're funny.
I just want multiply, division, add, and subtract.
The perfect division, not that decimal division where you get huge decimals and reminders.
Forgot about that.
What?
I never understood it.
Forgot about that.
You're too fat to know what's going.
We gotta do those stuff.
Please.
Alright, I got 4 that you're going to try to solve. Number 1 says 8x cubed equals 64. Number 2 says 1/2 x to the 5th equals 512. Number 3 says x plus 5 to the 4th equals 16. And then the last one says x minus 2 cubed equals negative 14. See if you can solve all those. If there's anything that needs rounding, round it to the nearest hundredth. Get them done and check them, see how your huddle did.
Well, I gotta get me a piece of paper out. What'd you get on the first one, Bob? Huh?
You're not doing it right there, everybody.
I think that, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's definitely right.
Remember 1, 5.
I got 2. I got 2.
I do a cube
2,
by cube
yeah, I was about to say, I got 2.
It's 8x to the third.
You're wrong, Trevor.
So
You
you
gotta-
divide by 8
You
first,
divide by
right?
8, and then you do
I
the
got
cube root
8.
of 64.
And then that's being cubed, so you undo that by cube rooting. I think you cubed it. You gotta cube root it.
So it would. You didn't even do it.
You're wrong.
It's 2, that's right. I told him the whole time.
So you divide
I don't know how you do it, but
It's 2.
It's 2 for sure.
I actually did it in my work study, too.
Me? I used a calculator, buddy. Yep, I'm a liar.
yep. you're
Is the
right.
second one a decimal, Coach Wright?
I don't remember.
I don't know how.
Couldn't you take the 512 and divide it by 2 to get half of that?
No? You would divide it by a half, which would double it.
Yeah, which would be 10, 24, and then.
What I said.
do the
Oh,
square
so
root,
it's
which is
4.
Yeah.
I pay attention the whole period, bro.
Did y'all get 4 on the second one over
I
there?
did.
Yes.
Think I got 2. Yeah, good skill, boy. And I got you. You got it.
I thought you were, bro.
They did the 8 plus 5.
You're just not smart enough.
I just want to go back to first grade.
Did y'all get -3 on the third one?
Did you hit enter on it, Gabe, and pick it?
You ain't got the third one yet?
So -3.
What did you get for yours?
-3.
Right, which, we're trying to do the cube root or something, so hit math, go to 4,
What'd you do?
enter,
How'd you get this?
and then what is it you want to do?
Trevor?
Hang on, dude. Let me get them all. That's what I got.
How'd you get?
Because I did the square root, or I did the 14, I did the, what you call it, the fourth root of 16. And it gave you, it gave me 2, and then you subtract 5, which gives you -3. Does that be right, Coach Rat?
I'm missing some
See in
pieces,
a
but
minute.
What do you mean? What'd y'all think?
Oh, that was like the beginning of the year.
kick your whole
Someone
pen.
Connor gave me old paper pens. I guess.
Yeah, come Connor.
I don't have any more.
Connor
I lost them
took
all
them.
with this one.
Connor took
I didn't
all-
think it was one of them. You
Yeah,
gotta
he
go
did.
to your bag.
No, he took the packet to me.
No, this is on
I did
my
not
bag.
No, that's it. See, I can get it too, but I
Is it like this?
No, it's like this. This big.
Just like this.
No, are you gonna be a bag of pens?
I didn't.
Connor took it.
I didn't take one of them. He stole all of them.
No, he took it.
Zero, man.
You gonna be a bag of pens?
So if someone,
We'll get on home.
Someone goes rob bank.
Yeah, but you
You'll
don't
get
get
drunk. He said if someone goes and robs the bank,
They did.
If they throw you the money, you're gonna keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
yeah, then you're gonna get in trouble.
Yes, you do.
That's like that. You divide that. Yes.
It won't let me.
Hey, what'd y'all get on the last one?
Wait, if there's a negative inside the house.
What'd you get on?
Back on the last one,
Yes.
you're gonna add 2.
Fast.
It's being subtracted, so you add it.
I probably had to add everything.
No, I don't want a cube root.
No?
No, you can have negative if it's.
Did I change it to a positive?
No, cube root of a negative number is a negative number.
So it's gonna be -2 plus 14.
Did you turn my phone on?
No, you gotta figure out what the cube root of negative 14 is, and then add 2 to it.
That's right, thanks, Justin.
Oh, okay. I can't do this.
No, that wasn't.
Dumbo.
They
said-
he said, I don't have it.
Okay,
Can you have a
first.
decimal for the last one?
You can. First two are the easiest. X is being multiplied by 8, so you're going to start by dividing that by 8. So it gets us x cubed is equal to 8. 64 divided by 8 is 8.
Really?
Now you got x to the third. To undo a third, you cube root.
Gives you 2.
Cube root of 8 is just 2, and it's odd, so you don't have to do plus or minus. It just is what it is. Okay? Alright, this one is similar, except it has a fraction, and what you need to remember when you divide by a fraction, that's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So 512 divided by a half is the same as 1,024. Then that's to the 5th power, so you undo the 5th power by 5th rooting. What's the 5th root of 1,024? And it's an odd power, so it doesn't take plus or minus, it just stays like it is. Boom. Alright. Questions started happening on the last two here.
I got -3.
This whole binomial is being raised to the 4th root, so I need to undo the 4th root first, or 4th power, excuse me, first. I do that by a 4th root. 4th root is 16. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. But remember, when it's an even power, it can be plus or minus, right? So this is going to be x plus 5 can equal positive or -2.
So we can
Now?
have a
Not 2
2
inches,
inches.
yes.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to get, go ahead. Where did I get the 3?
Wait.
You're a
Alright, now, I'm trying to get the x all myself. It's got 5 being added, so I need to subtract it, but I have 2 numbers to subtract it from. So I have to do 2 minus 5, and I have to do -2 minus 5.
got -3.
So my two answers are -3 and -7.
Will you give me the reason?
I was confused.
The reason you did the plus or minus is because
Anytime the power is an even, it's got to be a plus or minus. So does it have to be plus or minus on this one?
No.
Correct the mundo. Alright, on the last one. It's all being raised to the 3rd power, so we need to undo that with a cube root. Trevor and I just talked about it, but the rest of y'all weren't listening. When I cube root something, do I need a plus minus?
Nope.
No, only when it's an even. Can I have the cube root of a negative number? It just stays negative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to save it for last. I need to go ahead and move the 2 over. It's being subtracted, so I'm going to add it. So my answer is going to be whatever. I'm adding 2 over here. Whatever, and you could write this. I don't know how. I know how I want to write it, but I don't know if that'll confuse you or not.
Would you write
Just
that?
do it.
Will you do it for
That's bad. Go ahead.
That's how I would type it in my calculator.
And you here? Let me type that.
No.
That's the same thing as
Chill out.
just doing that and then doing
It is. All right, what do you got when you hit that in your calculator?
4.
-0.410. Hey, if you do it in the calculator, it won't matter if you write it like that or just do like.
On something
How do you get
this, cube root of a negative is always a negative.
Yeah.
On something like this, you'll be quiet. Something that's this simple, Trevor is correct. There was only one time to round, so it wouldn't matter if I typed it in first or second or whatever. But we're gonna get more complicated ones where you'll then have to do something else and have to do something else, and you don't want to keep rounding over and over and over again. That's what I'm trying to set you up for. Okay?
You done?
Nope. All right. Everybody good on that so far? Yep. Okay, you have a spot in your classroom to give me the answer to that.
What's the answer?
Dude, that's what you gotta figure out.
I know.